In Minneapolis, Minnesota, a long-abandoned hospital was under reconstruction. The hospital, named St. Anne's Mercy, was originally founded in 1802. The hospital housed the quarantined patients suffering from illnesses such as yellow fever, smallpox and leprosy. It also housed the mentally ill and abandoned of all ages for many years. In 1924, the hospital was converted into a high-security insane asylum until 1957, before it was shut down after a tragic accident claimed the lives of a nurse and 2 small children in an unexplainable fire. The nurse was found standing in the room where the fire started, her features burned beyond all recognition. She pointed to the men who found her and let out a loud wail before she dropped to the ground, dead. Her injuries proving fatal, the bodies of the children were never found. As of 2006, the hospital was purchased and slated for reconstruction as a fully functional general hospital. Floor by floor, the hospital was cleaned and restored. After a few days of work, the construction workers began reporting strange sounds, smells, shadows and a sensation of being choked by smoke. As the work continued, bizarre accidents began to plague the construction crew. Light bulbs would shatter without reason, small electrical fires would start in wires and outlets in the walls. Despite the brand new equipment, the elevator doors wouldn't open and would frequently get stuck between floors, and one unfortunate worker apparently fell to his death while trying to repair the faulty elevator. His body was found, splayed and bloody, at the bottom of an elevator shaft, a look of terror frozen on his face. While under construction, the hospital was open to the public as an emergency room. The hospital staff was free to roam about all floors and wings of the hospital, with the exception of the children's wing, which was far behind schedule. Many workers refused to continue restoring the children's wing. They'd call in sick or quit, each worker claiming that they felt as though their lives were in danger. Soon patients began to complain about odd sounds emanating from the vacated children's wing. Complaints of children playing loudly were common. Then reports of screams and cries for help began to disturb the peace. The doctors and nurses insisted on hiring additional security to monitor the wing and refused to allow the staff to use the empty wing for storage unless they had someone watching them. Several security cameras were installed in the wing, one in each hallway, one for both elevators and one on the emergency staircase. The security guard hired to watch the monitors began complaining of headaches, nausea, nightmares and paranoia. After only 6 days, the security guard was found hanging in his office after he had attempted to scratch his own eyes. The screens on the monitor had been broken with some black paint smeared over the display, and the recording videotapes had the film pulled free of the case and wadded up all over the office. There was a piece of paper found in the security guard's hands, which read simply, "She's still looking." The hospital staff reviewed the little security footage that was salvaged and didn't see anything out of the ordinary during the first night, with the exception of the lights occasionally flickering. But on the second night, there were brief glimpses of 2 small children playing in the hallways. The children were horribly burned and had black dots where their eyes should have been. The staff could hear them laughing as they played, even after the tape had stopped playing. On the third night, the elevator doors began to randomly open and close without provocation. Some of the staff claimed to have seen a bloodied hand reach up and through the open doors as if it was attempting to claw its way to freedom. During the fourth night, a weeping shadowy figure began roaming the halls. The figure was dressed in scorched rags and had black tears running down her face. As she roamed aimlessly, she would occasionally stop and look directly into the camera before letting out a shriek of emotional pain. The fifth night of footage showed a gurney with a zipped body bag rolling down the hall. This footage was especially grainy and damaged, but there was no mistaking the image on the screen. On the sixth night, the night the guard hanged himself, the footage was oddly clear. The gurney and body bag rolled back down the hall without provocation, but the body inside the bag slowly sat upright, its head turning in the bag to look at the camera. The footage suddenly cut to static and when it was clear, the body bag was now standing up next to the gurney. Static hit the screen once more, and the body was now closer to the camera. From inside the bag, the body let out a horrible wail of pain that grew louder and louder as it began twitching and walking directly towards the camera. The video stops playing. There is no additional footage. The hospital staff who witnessed the footage began complaining of the same symptoms as the security guard: headaches, nausea, nightmares and paranoia. One by one, each witness began suicide attempts, sometimes successfully. As a precaution, the witnesses to the footage were committed to mental institutes for their own protection, and the children's wing of the hospital was walled off. The staff still claimed to hear laughter and screams coming from beyond the wall.